Hello and welcome, I'm Vok250 and today I'm going to be talking about Costume Quest. The version you're seeing is Xbox Live Arcade version. I picked it up a few weeks ago on sale for half price. Sat down the next day and was completely finished the game in 5 hours. It's a simple, addictive and stylish game, but it lacks replay value and it doesn't pose much of a challenge. It plays out as an adventure RPG and it uses a turn-based combat system where you run into an enemy or situation and it pulls you out of the adventure world and throws you into the combat system. It's kind of like the old Pokemon games or Final Fantasy, the same design as that basically. The plot follows kids on Halloween. Your main character, you get to choose what gender you are, and then it's either your brother or your sister. They get abducted by these monsters whose objective is to steal all the candy in the neighborhood. I played as the brother, so in my story, my sister, who was dressed as a candy corn, they thought she was a giant candy, so they abducted her. And basically you meet friends along the way, and that creates your party, and you try and find costumes, which then you equip to your party, and the costumes each have their own abilities and different combat stats. And you battle within the combat system. The combat system uses a turn-based combat system that revolves around quick time events. There's quick time events to block and varying quick time events for your attacks that allow you to do critical hits, and they deliver more damage if you're successful in the quick time events, and they're like wiggling your stick around a bunch or pressing a button within a time frame. Pretty simple, none of them really pose a challenge. One of the biggest things about the combat is that basically you can just choose the costumes with a huge damage per second rating, or do the most damage each turn, and as long as you're landing those critical hits every turn, you'll never lose. And then another thing that adds a few RPG elements to the game, but not enough to bring any sort of strategy into the game. It's kind of like pseudo RPG elements. They're there, but they don't really do anything. One of these things are called battle stamps, where basically within the game you're collecting candy, obviously, because it's based around Halloween, and you can trade this candy for these things called battle stamps. Each of them gives a little buff within the battle, and you equip them to your characters. You can only equip one at a time. The ones I took were extra damage. Extra damage was one was extra damage if you land the critical hits, which was almost every time because the quick time events were just so easy. I actually can't remember what the third one was, but basically through the entire game I was able to use the same 3 costumes, basically the same 3 stamps, but getting the better versions as I leveled up, because there's actually a leveling system and there is a few stats also, and as you level up your stats increase and you can get new, better stamps. It's actually kind of fun, and despite being so simple and so ridiculously easy, it's addictive. The quick time events and the whole design of the combat system keeps it super fast paced. So even though it's repetitive, not very interactive, I guess you could say, you're still having a lot of fun because you just keep going through battles very quickly that last maybe a minute or 2 at most. The story is very linear, so it doesn't really offer any sort of replay value unless you wanted to try using different costumes, or if you're a completionist, to get the 1, maybe 2 achievements you won't get in your first playthrough. There is DLC offered, but I don't think I'm going to buy it, not unless it's a ridiculous sale sometime, because the game was honestly around 5 hours for me to complete, and on sale, I mean, it was only like $5 I think with Microsoft points, whatever the comparison of that was, and for 5 hours of gameplay that's actually pretty good, and it was a lot of fun, so I don't regret that. But DLC often for games like this will be at most an hour long, and I've never seen DLC for like 80 Microsoft points, which is $1, so I'm probably going to skip that. I'd say if this game's on sale though, definitely pick it up, because the main points of the game they nailed them really well. It's really polished in terms of what the game does well, which is its art style. It's a cartoony art style, and within the combat it turns into a more anime-esque art style. which is cool and well done and actually pretty enjoyable. I thought it was cool. The sound was well done. It had a good atmosphere, very Halloween-y. The story wasn't anything super special, but the dialogue within the story, which is where Double Fine, who makes this game, where they really excel in what they're kind of known for. The dialogue is great. It makes a lot of jokes based around like adults and kids interacting, siblings interacting, kids and other kids interacting. I don't want to spoil any of it or talk about it, but the dialogue is humorous in a sort of makes you chuckle kind of way. You won't be rolling on the floor, but you'll be amused. And the whole kind of game just has a style and atmosphere that's fast-paced, a little bit goofy, but in the end is a very amusing game to play. And I mean, I sat down and played through the whole thing, and 5 hours straight of a game that seems very repetitive at first, yet I never got bored of it, and at the end of it I was like, yeah, that was pretty fun. But I mean, it wasn't perfect, and it wasn't awesome. It's a good game, but it's not a great game, because it's like 5 hours, and I have no desire to ever play it again, maybe like a year from now, or 2 years from now. There's no challenge to it, so I didn't have to use strategy at all. It was basically just a bunch of quick time events I just boosted all my characters' max damage up. But I mean, it was still fun. I still had a good time with it. So I'd say this game is definitely a buy on sale. I wouldn't say it would be a buy outright, at least not on Xbox. It's way too much in the Xbox marketplace for the normal price, but if it's half off again like it was, then I'd say you can't go wrong. It's fun for a night or two, maybe a weekend if you take your time here and there. I guess that's Costume Quest. Anyway, see you guys later.